people, Marijuana XLR here with you another commentary. The last commentaries I made weren't commentaries, so this time I'm going to give objectivity this time, like a commentary should. SupaNova is who I'll be doing and his Ubisoft rant. He talks about Ubisoft's plan to make free games, and it is a pile of dog shit if you look at one thing that could defeat his rant, as well as two other things that are minor. Let's dive in. I'm going to be skipping his pre-intro and intro because it has no relevance to the topic at hand.
And I've seen a couple people's takes on this, I've seen a couple videos of people talking about this, and their takes seem to be kind of like, well, you know, they're doing a little bit of this, they're doing a little bit of that, as long as they deliver on both ends, everybody's gonna be happy, we don't see a problem with it. And to that I say, fuck that! Fuck that! Fuck their opinions, and fuck Ubisoft, okay? And I'm gonna explain to you why I feel that way. Because, listen, if Ubisoft wants to prioritize free-to-play games, they're entitled to do whatever the fuck they want to do, right? Ubisoft can do whatever the fuck they want to do. But don't sit here and pretend like you're gonna continue to make these free-to-play games, and then continue to make the big-budget AAA games, and that's how it's gonna be from now on. So anyone who's concerned about the big-budget AAA games, oh, don't worry guys, we're still gonna make your games while we also make these free-to-play games. Don't give me that bullshit, okay? Because I fucking know better. This is how the shit starts. It starts off with, listen, we're gonna make some free-to-play games, and we're gonna make mostly your games. And then it becomes, you know, we're gonna make 50-50 free-to-play games and your games. And then it becomes, we're gonna make mostly free-to-play games, but we're still gonna make some of your games. And then it becomes, we're gonna make almost entirely free-to-play games, and we might think about possibly still making your games. And it eventually becomes, fuck your games, all we make now is free-to-play games. Right? This is how it starts.
It's like that saying, you know, that if you throw a frog in boiling water, the frog will jump out. But if you put the frog in room temperature water and slowly increase the temperature of the water, the frog will eventually boil to death and not even realize what the fuck is happening.
Dude, if they're going to announce it, then they will get out of there. The frog analogy doesn't work since 1, animals are stupid, and 2, people will pick up the pieces eventually. If we were to assume that they won't be announcing it. Also, could free games count as making a big budget? I'll explain why later.
Does that make fucking sense to you guys? And by the way, sorry if my voice sounds fucking weird. My nerve pain's been kicking my ass, so I've been screaming and my throat's all fucking scratchy. So if it sounds weird, that's why. But yeah, listen. I know there's a bunch of you out there right now listening like, yo, what the fuck is SupaNova talking about? That's never gonna happen. That's not what Ubisoft is doing. Ubisoft is a big AAA developer. They want to dip their toes in some other things, but they're always gonna be the big AAA developer. SupaNova's just being extreme, he's being hyperbolic, right? And yeah, I am being a bit hyperbolic, but there's a reason why I feel the way that I do. And I will explain to you and use data and news articles from the past to help you understand why it is I have these feelings and why I have the mentality I do when it comes to shit like this, okay?
Let's start off with this. None of these companies give a fuck about us. Ubisoft doesn't give a fuck about us. Activision doesn't give a fuck about us. PlayStation doesn't give a fuck about us. Xbox doesn't give a fuck about us. PC doesn't give a fuck about us. Nintendo doesn't give a fuck about us.
Wait, Nintendo? I know that Nintendo has made mistakes, but if they didn't give a fuck about us, they would lose money. And yeah, you could make the argument that the money matters to them, but they need money in order to survive the gaming business. Last time Nintendo didn't give a fuck about us, it was when they were competing with the PlayStation and Xbox. Customer satisfaction is what they strive for. And yeah, there were boo-boos, but Nintendo is learning from their mistakes. Also, Sakurai is putting the effort to give fucks about the underpaid games in Smash, as well as other franchises. I'm going to add that Sakurai gave a fuck about us since the DLC characters are now finished with Sora being the Big Bang. And that's sick as now greedy. Considering you have a Patreon account, I'm not surprised if you don't give a fuck about your fans and are just trolling the audience into thinking you do. Sorry, I really don't like Lance that I thought out.
Now, I have long said that mobile gaming would be the end of gaming. At least the end of gaming as we know it, or the end of gaming as someone like me, a hardcore gamer, likes it, right? Because gaming will always be here, but gaming is going to evolve, and mobile gaming was going to start the evolution of the gaming industry into something that I don't like, something that I, as a hardcore gamer, do not like. For me, it started with the freemium model of gaming on mobile. What's the freemium model? Well, it's this. At first, in things like...
He just goes on and on about this for a couple of minutes about mobile gaming. I would like to point out that almost 50% of people do mobile gaming. I think he's kind of assuming that mobile gaming is a big problem as well as what comes up next. I feel like it's just a mixed thing, considering the numbers. Console gaming is still popular today. It's just the same as mobile for the most part. Turns out that the majority of gamers are mobile. However, it's predicted in 2025 it'll decrease close to 50%. So okay, he's sort of right. However, he should have linked sources to make sure that there were no mistakes on both ends. Also, could you at least focus on Ubisoft's free game plan? It is dragging and I'm getting impatient.
That's just a fact. And then we have these things from mobile games that have carried their ways, kind of burrowed their way into console gaming. Because remember when we started to first see microtransactions in games, and people were like, oh, don't worry, they're just going to be in free to play games. Microtransactions are never going to be in games we actually pay money for. And then all of a sudden, we started seeing microtransactions in games that you paid money for. And then I was like, no, look, those are just games as a service type games. We're not going to see microtransactions in regular games. And then here we are now where we have microtransactions in regular games. Okay? Microtransactions burrowed their way into gaming to where now we see them everywhere, in every genre, in every fucking type of game. Now they're here. And for me, microtransactions is one of the worst fucking things that could have ever happened in gaming. Because what does it do? It causes studios to then lock cool shit behind the microtransactions. They'll make a game, and then they'll make characters in the game.
And they'll make super badass armor for the characters and cool skins for the weapons. And instead of them being something that you unlock by playing the game, you know, kind of how games are supposed to be, they will block them behind microtransactions.
Microtransactions are only done 5 to 20% of the time. Basically, people are not that stupid to pay these. I won't bet that certain games are just doing this for only the money, but you have anything Ubisoft related that is just a money-driven game? I'm going to say no, because you don't seem to give a fuck about better examples. I would like to point out that this is a very old video. I'm not sure if you had a chance to look up the Ubisoft examples because there may have not been any. Though he seems to be cherry picking some examples and may not be doing the research on all free games, considering people like free games that don't force you to pay them for the microtransactions in actual currency, and it's up to the player to choose what they want. I feel like he's not thinking of good free games that he likes due to his biases. I can only think of TF2 as an example of this, not counting loot boxes to pay. I'm ending it right here since he goes on and on about microtransactions. Final thoughts. All this could have been avoided if he took the time to look up information that could easily prove him that it's not as big as he's making it out. My problem with rants is that while some of them are accurate, they don't put the rational thoughts about it. At least Ben Looney is honest about this and isn't trying to bash on people who likes it for the most part. I get he's trying to be rational, but these rants are so pointless that there is no reason for kinds of rants. If you're going to make a rant, it's best to think before ranting. Like, comment, share the video, subscribe, and click on the bell to get notified for more if I write. Check out the other channels and accounts in the description. Be sure to support Josh on Twitch and Patreon for charity and to get the credit he deserves. Check out my playlist in the outro to see if you like anything else. Signing off.